in this video we're looking at tight quads, which could come from tightness in the knees or maybe in the hip flexors, and they're the areas that I'm addressing in this video. So starting with the knees, we're going to use the hands to lift the thigh, stabilizing the upper leg, circle the lower leg. 3 or 4 circles, round in one direction, back in the opposite direction. Of course, you could do more circles if you wish. Once you've circled equally in both directions, we're bending and straightening the legs. So flexing, extending the knee, maybe already feeling a bit of heat in the knee, and then we'll move on to the other side. What you do on one side, make sure to do on the other. 3, 4, maybe 5 circles more if you enjoy. Round in one direction, back in the opposite direction, and then just flexing and extending the knee. That's it. Warming up the knees, and then if we can come to a standing position, we want the movement to be slow and precise, and we just want to bring the heels towards the buttocks. If your balance is challenged, stand by a wall to steady yourself. And again, just maybe 3 to 5 times on each side. Bringing those heels towards the buttocks. You may feel that in your hamstrings, which is going to help support the quads when we're looking to lengthen these. You know, maybe that's part of the problem. If the hamstrings are really weak, the glutes are weak, then the quads are going to take over. So that butt kick in is a nice one. Wake up the hamstrings, but here we're moving on to the hip flexor. So right side first, I'm going to step the right leg back into a lunge position. Again, use the wall for support if you're a little wobbly. You can bring your hands onto your thigh to steady yourself as well. And then we want to make sure the tailbone is pointing down towards the floor. So it's a slight backward tilt in the pelvis. We'll feel the stretch in the hip flexor. Send your breath into the stretch. And if you feel that edge of resistance has disappeared, maybe there isn't none there at all, we can stretch the arms up and lengthen through the trunk of the body. It's going to increase the stretch in the hip flexor. Again, breathe into the stretch. And if you find that line of resistance disappears, you can maybe lengthen up some more and start to move into a back bend to really increase that stretch. Breathing in to where we've opened the body, 3 to 5 times, hands back to the hips, body in an upright position to step yourself forward, and then we'll move on to the other side. Left leg back to get into the left hip flexor. If there is more room, you know, you can make your lunge a bit longer to increase the stretch. Once you're steady, we're pointing that tailbone down towards the floor. Breathing into our stretch, making sure we're comfortable, not in pain within the position. And if there is more room, we find more space in that hip flexor. It's almost like the edge that we go up to disappears. Then you can move on to increase or think about increasing the stretch rather than pushing into it. We want to stay at the edge, breathe into the space. If the line of resistance disappears, then we're deepening into the position to open up the body some more. Back to center to step yourself forward. I can't stress enough how important it is not to push into any tension you find. It's much more, it's more accessible for the body if we can come from a relaxed space. So you're not pushing into it, you're finding your edge and let your body become comfortable within that space and then find your new edge. If you're pushing into it, the body's going to contract more, which is defeating the object. Once we've done that little warm up, if we can move down to the floor. If you can't, then just stay with those previous moves. If we can get down, we're going to test that flexibility in the quads in a kneeling position. So I've used a block for support. You can make this tower as high as you need to just get a little more stretch into the knees. To get into the quads, only do this if you're quite close to the floor. So you're working, stacking the hips to be able to relax in a kneeling position. Once you can get yourself a bit lower to the floor, you can maybe think about walking the hands back for that deeper stretch into those quadricep muscles. Again, we're just breathing in to the stretch, walking the hands forwards. If it's particularly tight, we can go back. We don't have to stay in the position, back and forth just as the breath moves the body, so we can actually move the body to also make the tissue in the body more pliable. But do be careful not to push into your stretch.